Well, hello guys, and welcome back. It's time for Far Right Watch.
Far Right Watch, the only phrase. Far Right Watch, scanning the days.
So this time we're going to check in on Nick Ferrari. Me old mucker, me old mate, Nick Ferrari over at LBC. Now, if you've got this far in life, ungrazed by his scalding wit, journalistic skill, and alluring charm, let me give you a little taster here.
Is there much point continuing this conversation? Because you don't know where a bridge starts, you don't know where it ends, and you don't know how much it costs.
So how much would 10,000 police officers cost?
Well,
Working from home, great idea from Deutsche Bank. You should have to pay more tax.
You hear people like yourself bullying Meghan Markle. That's what you're doing because she's a black woman or mixed race.
How did you
make
get...
me sick, man.
How
You get the idea.
is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix? Good morning.
He hosts the LBC breakfast show every morning. He doesn't like work from home. Some of his callers and listeners have said that he's racist.
All over the world, statues are coming down.
Why do you stay in this country? If you take such offence when you see Nelson's column, if you take such offence when you hear Winston Churchill's name...
I'm sure that he would deny that.
Mayor Khan simply won't talk to me. I know what he's against. He's against statues. He's against advertising on the underground. He's against pictures of women in swimming costumes on the underground, even though I thought we lived in a Western country.
I'm sure he would deny that allegation, which is unproven at this time. Others think he's a ledge, probably. He bashes the BBC. He hates Bob Vylan. He's made a bit of a name for himself by asking ministers on the rounds, and indeed opposition ministers and basically all of Westminster. He asks them how much a packet of grapes costs. And then when they don't know, he gets decidedly judgmental with them. That's basically his deal.
You don't know how much it is.
Well, it's several billion, as I've said.
It's 10 billion.
And it would be easy to dismiss him because he's such a caricature, isn't he? You know, I mean, here he is, gift-wrapped, stamped, shoved on the conveyor belt, straight up delivered to us in journo-political culture from his Nepo baby upbringing. His dad ran a news agency. His dad was in the business. His South London private education. He's just dripping with privilege. His well-documented professional background, moving from Maxwell to Murdoch to running live TV, with definitely also not racist Kelvin Mackenzie. I print this paper for the bloke you see in the pub. A right old fascist. He wants to send the wogs back. He hates the queers and the weirdos and the drug dealers. And working with Mackenzie at Live, according to The Independent, he devised such journalistic game changers, such highbrow entertainment as the News Bunny.
News Bunny, live TV's fearless reporter. He'll go
Topless Darts. And of course, the top of the hour headlines, the bulletin read by a fascist jumping up and down on a black man. No, that's not right. That's not. Wait, is that not right? Oh, right. Yes. Sorry. My bad. It wasn't the headlines. It was the weather, and it wasn't a fascist jumping up and down on a black guy. It was a dwarf on a trampoline, which was I suppose it's a bit better. Like I'm not even kidding, by the way. Those were the actual shows. People dressing up as rabbits, running around London, harassing politicians and prominent individuals. Page 3 girls playing darts. Little people on trampolines trying to reach up to a weather map. Like, honestly, Nick Ferrari's Wikipedia page reads like a fucking Will Ferrell movie. You know, those concepts, those ideas for shows. It's so like Arrested Development, adolescent-y. isn't it? You know, you can imagine him putting up his hand in a pitch meeting and going like, "Oh, I've got it. I'm Nick Ferrari, and I've thought up an amazing idea for a new show. It should be called the Humpity Naked Bolly Bulletin." And all the other producers and investors are like, the Humpity Bolly what? Like, what does that even mean?
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
So he goes from that, from live TV with Kelvin MacKenzie, he goes from that to talk radio, or talk sport as it was then, to LBC, The Breakfast Show, to fighting accusations that these days he is little more than a mouthpiece for that other South London private school bellend, Nigel Farage.
The leader of Reform UK as they continue to perform well in the polls. 8 on Thursday, July the 3rd, and in the studio with me is the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage, I've got many calls of...
And like I was saying, like, it would be easy to sort of dismiss him as a sort of... what does he look like? He looks like a sort of privately educated Nepo baby Newman from Seinfeld. So, like, how does he not look like a Nepo baby Newman? So, like, it'd be easy to mock him, you know, sort of like what he's like, how he carries himself, his attitudes about certain things.
A woman can have a penis.
No, I'll tell you what the Prime Minister's really interested about. Making sure that switching gender will be easier. What?
Like, he's just... You know, he's just... We all know what he is, don't we? But no, today I want to focus our attention in this far-right watch on the substance of, you know, some of his recent shows, clips, etc., and the way that he handles himself on these shows, and the callers and guests and stuff that he has on. And please do just bear in mind that this is not just some harmless moron with a 10k subscriber count YouTube channel. This is one of the lead tenors of the Gamonati Choir right here, okay? With 1.3 million people tuning into his breakfast show every week.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Farage.
Good morning.
Can Nigel Farage give us an update on the scores on the doors? Have the Conservatives now overtaken them, or is Reform still bigger? Scores on the doors, Mr. Farage. Nigel Farage, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure working with the studio. Leader of Reform UK, Nigel.
Lawless Britain is the beginning of a 6-week campaign.
But this is Lawless UK, okay? Make no mistake about this whatsoever.
This is Lawless Britain, completely out of hand.
But this is Lawless UK, okay?
Lawless Britain.
Lawless UK. Lawless UK.
Okay, so let's just forget the Farage mouthpiece stuff for just a moment. What have we got first? Okay, yes, right. So me old mucker, he likes to wheel that one out on his shows. Whenever he's talking to somebody with a real job, you know, like a soldier, a policeman, postman, or whatever, he always refers to them as me old mucker. What's going on down there, then, me old mucker? You know, we're just a couple of blokes having a good old natter, aren't we? Me old mate, me old mucker. You know, because if he didn't do that, if he didn't mask like that, then you might draw the hugely inaccurate conclusion that he is a plum gargling, privately educated, detached nepo baby.
Back to those awful riots of last year. Would you accept they were fueled by a lack of information, a belief that the person involved was an asylum seeker who'd come over on a dinghy? Would you accept that?
So what have we got here? Right, so he's asking his guest, Narinder Kaur, if she understands that the 2024 riots were the result of a lack of information.
Back to those awful riots of last year. Would you accept they were fueled by a lack of information?
Which is, I mean, I'm sure I've heard that line somewhere before.
What caused unrest on our streets after Southport last year was us not being told the status of the attacker.
Would you accept they were fueled by a lack of information? A belief that the person involved was an asylum seeker who'd come over on a dinghy. Would you accept that?
No, I wouldn't accept that.
Okay, so what is he suggesting here? He's suggesting that because people weren't told the ethnicity of the Southport attacker, then people, they had no choice, right? They had to speculate. It was the absence of information, so speculation took hold. So it's the fault of the police, who should have just said it. They should have just revealed it, shouldn't they?
Would you accept they were fueled by a lack of information?
That's his line. And
Asylum seeker who'd come over on dinghy. Would you accept that?
No, I wouldn't accept that. What I would accept is that there's been a massive amount of misinformation.
What fueled those riots then, Narinda?
Scapegoating, asylum seekers.
Narinda, do you recall?
Misinformation be given out is very dangerous.
Yes, precisely. So let's let's.
Okay, here we have him talking over her. Good stuff. Very charming, Nick.
Yes, precisely. So let's please let's not give.
Like, chill out, Nick. Let her speak. She's not the fucking news bunny, mate.
Yes, precisely. So let's please let's not give.
I mean.
And then we would know that the person behind those horrific attacks on those girls at the dance class was British born. Nothing to do. So if we had information like that, you will prevent riots.
No, you got the rights at that because you were given misinformation that he was a Muslim, illegal immigrant.
So we will end it there. That's going before the courts. We're going to have to end there, Narinda. Thank you, Narinda Kaur. You're a broadcaster and social commentator.
Here's the thing with this. I'm sure others have said this before me. Probably to Nick as well. Probably Narinda would have said it to Nick had he, let her talk and not cut her off.
So we will end it there.
But specifically with regards to the Southport attacker situation, the police can't just dish out personal information about someone, like, ahead of time. They can't do that. The suspect was under 18 at the time. The law gives children anonymity just as a baseline right. Contempt of court rules mean that you cannot disclose personal information because it could prejudice a future trial. The facts on this are clear. The facts speak for themselves. I mean, as much as Farage and Ferrari bang on endlessly about lawless Britain.
Lawless UK.
But there are, these are laws. There were laws here in this case, and the police were following them. But of course, in the silence that it created in not revealing certain personal information, in that silence stepped people like Nigel Farage, speculating wildly.
I just wonder whether the truth is being withheld from us.
Andrew Tate, Tommy Robinson, and so on. Just ejacking conspiracy and disinformation everywhere. So Narinda is right. Do you accept that it was the absence of information that resulted in the riots, Narinda? She's like, no, I don't, Nick. Actually, it was missing. That's all that we've got time for, Narinda. Very sorry to cut you off mid-sentence there. What else have we got?
What don't they get? What don't they get? This country has had enough with this uncontrolled immigration.
Oh, God. Have we got something more recent?
Even though I thought we lived in a Western country.
Immigration.
Why do you stay in this country?
Why do you stay in this immigration?
You know what? What did he lead with this morning?
Good morning. 3 minutes after 7, Tuesday, August the 12th. Quotes: women are at risk of rape by small boat migrants with warped views.
Okay, where's he picked this up from? Reuters, I assume, or a study commissioned and run by Oxford University, I'm sure.
Boat migrants with warped views put forward by a Reform UK MP yesterday. As they tried to appeal, women for reform was the backdrop. I'm asking you particularly, if you are a woman, how you react to that. And more broadly, of course, those sort of medieval views that she talked of. We'll look at that in more detail. In other news, Lawless Britain continues attacks.
Wait! Drink!
Lawless UK.
No wonder traditional politics seems to be failing. No wonder there is an appeal, because, of course, the Conservatives have had long enough at it. Labour have had long enough at it. And they're not really moved it forward. So the appeal of a new insurgent party, Reform UK, making a real...
I mean, I don't think he even cares. Like, do you think people who are watching this in the comments, do you think he even cares how blatant this is? The support, the medieval trumpeting of Lord King Baron Farage. Do you think he even cares how obvious it is?
Today, reform politicians are the only ones that are prepared to stand up and say how it is.
I mean, do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a bit of when a movie franchise goes really downhill. You know, like Fast and the Furious 17 or Scary Movie 25 or whatever the fuck they're on now. You know, like the first one, the first couple, like the first one was a hit. Okay, it makes a studio a gangload of cash, absolute fuck ton of money. The second one's okay. The second one is okay, and then the third and the fourth one are just absolute dog shit, just horrendous cinema, a real stinker. Each one of the sequels after that one. Because the first couple, like, you still had the stars, the writer, the producer, the director, all of them contracted in, like, as part of their original agreement. Look, if we decide to commission a sequel, then you are kind of tied to it. But now that's done. Like, they've all rolled off. Now you got to find, like, the substandard, below par, bronze tier actors and writers. And the studio know it's not really going to... It's not going to be... The first one was a hit. You know, the second one was okay. They know it's not... You can't repeat that level of success. But they do know... They know that there's a boilerplate market for it. So they greenlight it. And they're like, you know, fuck it. It's on its last legs, isn't it? But just, you know, let's just give it the defibrillators. Let's just resurrect it for one more. And it'll suck. And it's awful. It's going to be terrible. But... You know, it'll bring in some money. And you know what? You can just supplement the ticket sales with shit actors and product placement. And that's when you end up with like a Pizza Hut pizza box in every scene and, you know, a can of Pepsi in every scene. There's 3 whole separate scenes that are all now set in a Burger King just to get more sponsorship money in. And then acting-wise, talent-wise, you get low-rent twats like this bitch.
The fact is that a quarter of rapes in this country are committed by foreign nationals.
And product placement throughout your film or show, in this case. Like, is that what the LBC Breakfast Show is nowadays? Is it?
The leader of Reform UK as they continue to perform well in the polls.
Okay, Nigel Farage.
Good morning, Nigel Farage.
Just a 3-hour advert for the Reform Party? Is that what it is?
But this is lawless.
I mean, at the very least, I guess he'll hold her to account on her numbers, won't he? He'll probably do that. That's his whole thing. That's his shtick. If a politician comes on and they don't have their figures, they're not across their brief for their bridge or the number of police officers they want to hire.
Right, well, I mean, we don't need to rely on figures from the press because you're Secretary of State for Education. You'll have the figures to hand. What is the true figure?
He asks them how they've arrived at that figure, and they stumble, and then he calls them a fraud, right? You know, he did it to Diane Abbott when she was Labour and in opposition. He does it to the Labour ministers now as representatives of the government. And when he does do it, like, that's it. That's it. Game over. So has he at least asked her about the figures and called her a fraud and kicked her off the show or hung up on her or something?
The fact is that a quarter of rapes in this country are committed by foreign nationals, and yet foreign nationals account for 11% of the population. So comparatively, the amount of sexual offences committed by these people is far greater than we're finding in white British men, and those attacks are aimed at white British women.
How do you know that they're all white British women, the victims?
Well, we don't
You just
know
said
that.
they were.
Well, I that's what I believe to be the case.
I mean, he's a bit lighter on her, isn't he? You know, to the Labour minister, he's like, is there any point continuing this conversation at all? Is there? With Reform, he's like, oh, interesting, and why do you believe that to be the case? I'm all ears. Take your time. There's a pen and paper there. Show your workings, and we'll just give you 10 minutes, won't we? We'll we'll cut to the break for us, shall we? Get the weather and the bulletin and the jumping up and down dwarf guy. But still, reality calling. I'm ready. I'm sat here ready, Nick. I'm ready to burst your bubble with my my veritable topless dart. Because the stats that she's talking about, they say that assaults may rise to 34% being foreign nationals, but only if you also factor in unknown nationality into the stats.
Quarter of rapes in this country are committed by foreign nationals.
So it's not, a fully credible stat. You do have to kind of cook the books a bit to get there, and even then it's a bit uncertain. It may rise to that. There's another study, while we're on this subject, there's another study that they all like to cite, which is by the Centre for Migration Control, which is actually just a blog run by this mysterious guy, Robert Bates, whom we looked into a couple of videos ago, if you haven't checked that out yet. And anyway, it turns out that he himself, Robert Bates, the Centre for Migration Control, he is a reform activist. So what are we doing here? Guys, what do we even have here? We have a reform activist sharing a stat from his report that you can't actually even read on his website. Like, you can't click into it. It just links you back to the page that says read our report. You can just go around in circles. You got a reform activist being cited by a reform MP on a breakfast show that is little more than an advert for the Reform Party. So it's good. Yeah, it's good stuff. And I should probably point out here also that regardless of the hysteria that they are trying to weave with this narrative, there is no credible evidence whatsoever that Afghan men are more likely to sexually assault you. When you actually break down the data, when you crunch the data, what you find is that still now, even with immigration figures as high as they are, even with all this hysteria, still most women who are victims of sexual violence, it comes from their husbands and partners. And despite all of the big numbers, 50,000 people have arrived on boats since Labour came to power. Most Afghan refugees have actually, like most refugees, gone to just neighbouring countries. And what are those neighbouring countries, Aid? That is Pakistan and Iran. And this is going to really shock you, guys. Neither Pakistan nor Iran have reported any uptick in fighting age men from Afghanistan being overrepresented in their sex crime statistics. And whenever we get onto this subject, I'm always I need to point this out. I shouldn't have to, but I'm going to anyway. I'm not saying, as is sometimes asserted or alleged, I'm not saying that there aren't cultural issues with the way that, a Taliban-governed society treats women or sees women or oppresses women. I'm not saying that at all. The Taliban don't have no support. Some people love the Taliban over there. So it stands to reason that some of those guys would also like to treat women quite badly. But if you accept that, wouldn't you assume that those men would probably be quite happy staying there? Like, why would they make this perilous journey across a channel where some of their cousins may well have drowned, just to end up in a different society where that sort of thing is looked down on? And they're restricted and they're not able to do that stuff. Like, why would they do that? It's like the Sharia law thing. It's like, they want to set up a Sharia law council it's like, wouldn't it just be easier to just, if they love Sharia law, why would they have left? So I'm not saying there aren't some cultural issues, and I'm also not saying that asylum seekers are all angels. I'm sure that they're not. But what I am saying is that the idea that British/white, indigenous, native British women and girls in the UK are at a specific, more exaggerated threat from men who arrive in boats rather than the man who just arrived at the bar, That idea is racist nonsense. And certainly the idea that the party, the Reform Party, or its cheerleader in Nick Ferrari here, are somehow the custodians of women's safety, with their history of topless darts and the MP or the Reform guy who was jailed for repeatedly kicking his girlfriend, and their rioters, and 40% of them who had a history of domestic violence. The idea that these clowns are somehow the paragons of compassion and protection for the fairer sex is fantasy. But anyway, that's it for this one. But stay with us up to 10 a.m. this morning for the headlines with Titty McGreatrack. But first, of course, the weather with a cartwheeling badger. I'm Nick Ferrari, and I definitely do not fuck livestock. Peace.
Just another video with Adrian.